Right away, this is the moment that hooks you. Watch it roll on that clean white belt. And here is the best part. This is not just sweets. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, you will see the exact point where pale gram flour turns into that warm, roasted aroma. Before a single sugar grain even touches the mix. Look at the layout. Stainless steel everywhere. This whole line is built for one thing, consistency. And if you follow the path, it is simple and beautiful. Receive the besan. Sieve it. Roast it. Cool it fast. Coat it with ghee. Sweeten it. Flavor it. That is the full story. Let us start where it always starts. Inside a 25-kilogram bag. Here comes besan. Gram flour. The craft bag opens, and the flow drops thick into the hopper. A screen sits right at the top, not for decoration. And listen to the background, that soft suction. Because in a product like Laddoo, one lump can become one ugly spot you cannot hide. Now the powder hits a vibrating stainless sieve. Any compacted clumps get trapped and pushed into a reject tray. No open bins. No scooping. Just a closed transfer, so the flour stays dry, uniform, and predictable. And predictability matters, because the next step is heat. And heat will punish inconsistency. Now meet the second main character, ghee. Clarified butterfat. Amber gold. Moving inside a jacketed stainless tank. As the jacket warms, convection currents swirl the liquid, keeping the temperature even. You can almost see that gentle movement. Thick, glossy, controlled. At the same time, the roaster kettle is preheating. Valves hiss in short bursts. Temperature dials stabilize, because when besan hits metal, the first seconds decide the flavor direction. Too cool, it stays raw and flat. Too hot, it scorches and turns bitter. The entire factory is basically saying one thing: do not rush the roast. Now the rotary valve starts its rhythm. Each pulse releases a measured fall of besan into the roaster. The agitator turns immediately. No waiting. So the flour does not sit and burn at the bottom. It moves like a soft wave, constantly lifted, folded, and spread. This is where Laddoo gets its identity. Not sugar, not nuts. Roasting, because roasted besan is not just cooked flour. It is aroma, warm, nutty, and deep. Watch the color change. The particles loosen. The surface becomes drier and more fragrant. This is the hypnotic part. And the moment the roast hits target, they do not guess. They dump it fast. The discharge door opens, and roasted besan pours out, like a golden waterfall. The pipe walls are insulated. That is a big deal. Residual heat can keep cooking the powder, darkening flavor past the sweet spot. Now the roasted base is ready for fat. Roasted besan drops into a ribbon or paddle mixer. Instantly, the texture changes. This is the first time the Laddoo starts acting like Laddoo. Not a dry ingredient. A mix that can hold shape. And this is also where overheating can ruin everything. So temperature control is constant. The mixer speed increases. The crumbs get cut and folded, and the walls are scraped clean by the paddles, so nothing cakes and burns. You are looking for a very specific balance, cohesive enough to bind, but not so hot that the ghee separates into a slick layer. If you ever wondered why some Laddoo feel greasy, this is one reason. Too much heat, or poor mixing discipline. Here, it stays tight, even, glossy in the right way. Now we sweeten. Granulated sugar goes into the grinder. Big white crystals disappear, and a soft white sugar dust blooms inside the chamber. A cyclone collector captures the powdered sugar and drops it into a sealed hopper. No moisture, no clumps, no sticky mess. Powdered sugar matters because it dissolves into the warm fat. Coated crumbs, giving sweetness without a gritty bite. And in a product like Laddoo, smooth is the luxury. Now the fun part. Cardamom powder. Light brown with a greenish tint. Adds that clean, fragrant lift. Then pistachio slivers. Bright green. Plus cashew bits. Ivory. Chunky. Crisp. They flow in on vibrating feeders, scattering through the mix like confetti. This step is small, but it changes everything. Because now the aroma is not just roasted flour and ghee. It becomes dessert. Warm, floral, nutty, rich. The mixer switches to a folding motion. And you can see it through the window. The mix becomes sand that holds. If you press it, it clumps and stays clumped. But it is still light, still granular, still airy enough to melt softly on the tongue later. Dust extraction keeps the sugar cloud low. Now it is ready to become spheres. The bottom gate opens. Everything is staged at a stainless catch tray, positioned exactly under the discharge. This is not handmade Laddoo. This is industrial Laddoo. Same concept, different scale. And the machine is about to do the most satisfying part, perfect balls. Over and over. Portioning cuts consistent plugs of mixture. Then, a rolling drum forms each one into a smooth sphere, about 3 to 4 centimeters wide. You can see the surface tighten. Fine, grain texture becomes uniform. Warm honey, gold color becomes consistent across every piece. And once you see that uniformity, you understand what the factory is selling. Not just flavor, reliability. Now comes the signature topping. A vibrating topper drops pistachio slivers and cashew crumbs right onto the crown of each sphere. A gentle roller press locks the topping into the ghee surface. Enough to stick, not enough to deform the ball. Then overhead QC. Cameras verify placement and symmetry. Because a centered topping is not just pretty, it is a quality signal. Now the product needs to set. The formed Laddoo enters a cool, air tunnel. Still slightly warm, still faintly glossy. As it travels, the surface sets. The sheen softens from wet looking to finished. Not dry, not hard, just stable. A quick sensor scan checks surface temperature in passing, making sure the product is ready for packaging without condensation problems. Now we lock it in. Here the line gets strict. Check wires confirm unit weights. A metal detector tunnel scans every pack lane. If something is off, weight too light, too heavy, it gets pushed aside by a pneumatic reject arm. Fast, clean, no hesitation. Because at this scale, small drift becomes big loss. So the system corrects continuously. Now we package. Laddoo drops neatly into a clear PET tray, or enters a flow wrap path depending on the SKU. Film stretches across guides, then heat, seal jaws close. Edges seal in a tight, neat fold, no big wrinkles, no loose corners. This is where visual matters. Clear packaging means the product has nowhere to hide. Color, topping, and surface finish must be perfect. And in this line, you can tell they built for that. Sealed packs pass through a short cooling section. Optical sensors check for gaps and inconsistent sealing, because one tiny channel can become moisture entry later. Next, secondary packing. A robot pick head lifts finished packs and places them into folding cartons. A hot, melt glue line lands as a thin glossy bid. Just enough, not excessive. Flaps close, the box holds, and the carton exits in a clean stream. Fast, repeatable, and perfectly aligned like a factory metronome. Then it moves to case packing. Smaller cartons stack into larger cases. Cases roll onto palletizing lanes. A stretch, wrap machine spins, and clear PE film tightens around the edges, locking the corners and stabilizing the load. It is the final shipping ready form. But the real story is still the product itself. So now we go to quality confirmation. A sample Laddoo goes into a fixture. A texture probe presses gently, testing firmness without crushing the identity of the ball. A moisture test confirms stability. They do not need close-ups of numbers to prove this. The process itself tells you they measure, they log, they control. And when Lab QC says, yes, the line stays trusted. Now the factory cleans. CIP begins. Rinse water moves through stainless piping. White foam coats the inside of vessels. A spray ball rotates, blasting a full 360-degree wash pattern in the mixer. And ghee lines get purged. Pale golden flow clearing out residue into a recovery tank. This is how a food factory protects flavor. Not just by cooking, by cleaning. So tomorrow tastes like today. Now we end where we began. A finished pallet sits in a spotless storage area. Then the camera returns to a single Laddoo on brushed stainless steel. Honey, gold, fine grain, one pistachio accent. You can still see that soft ghee glow under the lights. Quiet, controlled, premium. And that is the full transformation, Besan. Heat, ghee, sugar, cardamom, nuts, into a perfectly formed, perfectly sealed Besan Laddoo. If you want the next full process tour, tell me what sweet you want to see made at industrial scale, and I will take you right down the line.